Welcome to Module 3 of Small Group Training, and today we're talking about creating culture. Groeschel says that culture is a mix of what we create and what we allow. In other words, healthy culture never happens by accident, but an unhealthy culture can and will if we allow it to. As the facilitator of your group, you are also a leader when it comes to creating culture. And so here are some ways to go about creating culture. The first step is the most important one, and it's simply to look to Christ. And our first key word in this module is imitation. When I think of a healthy church culture, it's one that's hungry for God and it passionately embraces everybody from every walk of life with selfless service and unconditional love. We want to reflect this in our small groups. When asked what the greatest commandment is, Jesus responded by saying, the first one is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, all of your mind, and all of your strength. But the second greatest commandment is like the first. It's to love your neighbour as yourself. Any healthy church culture will take seriously the words of Christ, and these two pillars must be the starting point for any healthy small group as well. The first thing to remember is that we need to communicate the culture we want. Culture doesn't happen by accident, and so we need to keep communicating the desired culture over and over again. And if you feel like you're talking about it too much, you're probably just talking about it enough. And so it's your role to keep that in front of your group, because vision and culture leaks. And so the second key word is communication. Communicate the culture. The next thing is to live the culture. You need to be what you want your group to be. If it's not in a healthy place, then model the change that you want to see. In an unhealthy culture, we can kind of get dragged down into that and become part of the problem, or else the other choice is to rise above that and be the change that we desire. I once had a young guy come to me and say, I'm not going to go to small groups anymore. And I said, why not? And he said, well, it seems that everyone at our group has everything all together. And I said to him, well, I know you. And I know that you don't have everything all together, but if I didn't know you like I do, I would look at your life and do you know what I would assume? And he said, what? And I said, I would assume that you have it all together. And so if you want your group to be more transparent, then start by being more transparent. Now you might be thinking, well, what are some important culture points for our small group? Well, the first thing is that we want to be welcoming. Follow Baptist Church wants to be the most welcoming church on the planet. And so our small group should reflect that. Our prayer is that every person in our groups feels the warm embrace of Jesus through his people. And so let's proactively invest in that culture through not judging one another, by being friendly to all people, and by loving unconditionally. The second thing is that we want to be prayerful. We want to be a church where prayer is instinctive. We want it to be our default position before we even worry or talk about an issue in life. Groups are a great place to pray for one another and to bring our prayers and petitions before God, a God who listens. And so always make space to pray. The next important thing is that we want to be Bible-based. We believe wholeheartedly that the Bible is absolute truth, God's heart revealed. And we want our groups to stand on the Word of God. And that's the third key word, it's revelation. Imitation, communication, and revelation. Confidentiality is something that's also important in our groups. We want to build trust within the group, and so what is shared in the group should always stay in the group and be prayed into wherever possible. The only exception to that rule is if something is shared that is illegal or has the potential to harm that person or someone else. If that occurs, it should be passed on immediately to one of the pastoral staff. The next important thing in culture is to make sure that each group is aligned with the vision and values of the church. Whatever church you're in, you should be familiar with those, but for those that follow, you can find them on our website. Simply go to follow.church and look under the tab Our Beliefs. The next thing is that we want our groups to have a culture of mission. At Follow, our small groups are called Missional Community Groups, MCGs. And we want all of our groups to have some sort of outward expression of mission. This can vary for every group, but we've provided a couple of tools to help assist with that, and these will be covered in our mission module. When it comes to culture, I want to finish with the 3 F's. The first one is food. Food is so important in building relationships, so use every opportunity to gather the group around food to increase intimacy with your group. The second F is fellowship. Make sure you carve out time each night just to chat, to share, and to encourage one another. This can be an organic time, or you can even use things like icebreakers or games to get people interacting, and so be creative. The last F is fun. We want people to want to come to our small groups, so make it fun. Laughter is the best medicine. Remembering each other's birthdays and milestones can be a good way to celebrate together, and social gatherings can also help to build those relationships. At Follow, we have the Wens family who've pioneered a games ministry, and they've offered to visit your MCG group anytime and run a games night. All you have to do is provide the tables and chairs, and they do everything else. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested, ask one of the pastoral staff and they can give you more details. Don't forget, culture is a combination of what we create and what we allow. A healthy culture never happens by accident, but an unhealthy culture can and will if we allow it to.